We are bombarded with images of our planet in peril.
Global warming is defined as an increase in the average temperature of the Earth's atmosphere, especially a sustained increase sufficient to cause climatic change.
Warming can harm plants and animals that live in the sea. It can also force animals and plants on land to move to new habitats.
Hi, I'm Callie.
I'm Keith.
And I'm Richard. And we're students at Jupiter Community High School in Jupiter, Florida.
While images of deforestation in the Amazon rainforest and glaciers melting in Greenland dominate the media,
we want to show you the impact of climatic change in our own backyard and answer the question,
is Jupiter in jeopardy?
Eric Burris is the Weather First morning meteorologist on WPBF News 25. Thank you for allowing us to interview you for our student documentary on climate change and how it affects us in Jupiter.
Well, my pleasure.
As a meteorologist, what is your opinion on global warming and climate change?
Well, there's no doubt in my mind that something is happening. I mean, climate change is taking place. Now, there's proponents to this. You know, there's two sides. I mean, people think back to the Ice Age and say that that was a cooler period. I mean, if you think to, let's look at hurricane season. We have those multi-decadal cycles. We don't know why that happens, but for some reason, Earth does that. The atmosphere, the weather setup that Earth has does that. And so some people are saying, well, is it climate change or is it just an even larger scale cycle? We went through an ice age, now we're going to get into a period of heating, and then 1,000 years from now we'll get into a cooler period. There are people trying to argue that fact, but there's no doubt that in the last 100 years, even 150 years, when we started doing the industrial thing, we've noticed more ozone emissions from cars. I mean, you know, the whole 9 yards, and that has to have an impact on weather. There's no doubt about that. There's empirical evidence that says that.
What are the biggest weather-related problems Jupiter faces, and does climate change have anything to do with that?
Well, the first thing, of course, is hurricanes. I mean, when you have more hurricanes, Florida sticks out like a sore thumb. Jupiter is right on the coast there. Yeah. And so, you know, when you think back to hurricanes, Jupiter is pretty much, you know, standing out, you know, welcoming them because of our location. And so if we have more hurricanes, if they're stronger hurricanes, we have more of a chance of getting impacted by that, even if they don't directly hit us. I mean, think back to Noel this year. It was a very weak storm, and it never directly made its way ashore here. But what it did do is it sat off our coast, and it created huge erosion issues. We had folks along Bathtub Reef Beach, along the Treasure Coast, losing their houses. One of the beaches there is completely gone, whereas I was there a year ago, and there was plenty of beach there. With global warming / climate change, with all those theories that go along with that, we've definitely noticed that there are patterns that are showing that all that happens in weather is a little more amplified recently. For example, our drought. I mean, Lake Okeechobee hit its lowest level in recorded history this year.
The drought, yeah.
Right, and I mean, if you look up in Georgia, Lake Lanier hit its lowest level since it was filled back in the 50s. I mean, these are all things that are of note.
I'm here at Carlin Park in Jupiter, Florida to show how climate change is harming ocean life.
Through global warming, the surface waters of the oceans are becoming warmer and more acidic, increasing the stress on ocean ecosystems, such as coral reefs, one of the most spectacular and fragile of underwater environments, covering less than 1% of the ocean floor, but supporting an estimated 25% of all marine life. Coral reefs are in trouble around the globe. High water temperatures can cause a damaging process called coral bleaching, where the corals expel colorful and nourishing algae and turn white. Unless the water temperature drops, the corals die.
We are here at Loggerhead Marine Life Center in Juno Beach, Florida, which focuses on rehabilitation of sea turtles.
For more than 100 million years, sea turtles have been swimming in the world's oceans. These magnificent creatures spend their lives in the water, coming ashore to lay their eggs. The females return to the same beach to lay their own eggs when they reach maturity a decade later. The loggerhead sea turtle is the most common sea turtle in Florida, found on the beaches of Jupiter. Experts on endangered sea turtles say they face many threats over their long lives: hunting, accidental capture, and drowning in fishing nets, loss of feeding grounds due to pollution and seabed destruction, and loss of nesting beaches due to coastal development. But these threats may soon be eclipsed by a sea level rise and the loss of entire coastlines, a reality already facing many tropical island nations. And what about the Florida manatee? The Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission had been considering whether to reclassify the manatee as threatened instead of endangered. Governor Christ wants to keep the manatee on the endangered list and make sure that we continue to focus public attention on preserving this unique and important environmental treasure. The biggest threats to manatees are the loss of warm water habitats and boat propellers. Some have speculated that warmer waters will help the manatee, but seagrass beds, a primary food source for manatees, cannot withstand temperatures above a certain threshold. As with almost all large-scale environmental events, it is hard to pinpoint one specific source of the problem and one sure solution. What we know is that Earth is a complicated and delicate balance of many systems.
The climate crisis is tied to the electric power industry. Florida's Governor Charlie Crist has mandated slashing greenhouse gas emissions 80% by 2050 and said that producing solar energy in the Sunshine State just makes sense. Concerns have been raised about the cost of solar, but the cost of climate change would be far higher.
Is Jupiter in jeopardy? We think so, but it's not too late to do something about it.
I can change to CFL light bulbs.
I can carpool to school.
But an even greater impact is to have leaders that will put us on a path to a more sustainable future. We leave you with 2008 presidential candidates on this issue. We urge you to keep Jupiter and our planet out of jeopardy.
This is serious. I mean, this is man-made. This is fossil fuels caused, and we got to do it. This is the planet saying to us, we need some relief, and that relief is a reduction of greenhouse gas emissions, mandated, and America should take the lead.
We are responsible for good stewardship of this earth. I frankly believe my party's not been very forceful. They've not been on the forefront of leadership that we need to be. And as a Republican, I'd like to think I'm more in the mold of a Teddy Roosevelt, who's a true conservationist, than one who says, hey, we can do whatever we want to this planet. It just doesn't really matter, and it's somebody else's worry to deal with it in the future. I think that's recklessly irresponsible. I think it's, frankly, bordering on a sin against the Creator, if you will. And we've talked about faith. For me, this is not just a political issue. It really goes to the heart of my faith.
Be the generation that finally frees America from the tyranny of oil. We can harness homegrown alternative fuels like ethanol and spur the production of more fuel-efficient cars. We can set up a system for capping greenhouse gases. We can turn this crisis of global warming into a moment of opportunity for innovation and job creation and an incentive for businesses that will serve as a model for the world.
Of old, men would search for wealth untold. They dig for silver and for gold and leave the empty homes. And way down south in the Everglades, where the black water rolls and the sawgrass waves, the eagles fly and the otters play in the land of the Seminole. So blow, blow, Seminole wind, blow like you're never gonna blow again. I'm calling to you like a long